It's a Halloween time again, so let's take a look at the classic 1978 movie, which shares the same name as the holiday. This movie, like the previous year's Star Wars, was not only successful, but a huge impact on a popular culture. Even people who aren't fans of the horror genre recognize the film's title and have a general idea of what it's all about. Again, like the aforementioned George Lucas film, Halloween's success soon brought a slew of imitators as well as sequels, but are the reasons this movie continues to endure in the nearly 4 decades since its release. What makes it continue to stand head and shoulders over the many films that tried to duplicate it? What attracted Carpenter to make Halloween was his chance to make a movie like the horror flicks he loved when he was younger. He would be the first to say the one film Halloween owes a debt to is Psycho. Indeed, Pleasant's character is named for the one played by John Gavin in the movie. Tommy Doyle, Brian Andrews, the boy Laurie is babysitting in the film, is named after the character played by Wendell Corey in another Hitchcock film, Rear Window. Carpenter would also call Halloween his Argento film, referring to shots in the film that were inspired by similar ones in Dario Argento movies such as A Deep Red and Suspiria. But the homages in the film aren't limited to the horror and the suspense genre. Annie the Father's sheriff, Leigh Brackett, Charles Cypers, was named for the legendary science fiction author of the same name. Brackett also penned such classic movies as The Big Sleep and Rio Bravo. Her final film as a screenwriter was The Empire Strikes Back. She died after only penning the first draft of the script, but happily, Lucas gave her co-screenwriter credit on the film with Lawrence Kasdan. While this may have been unintentional, I've always thought Halloween possessed another homage that was a bit foreshadowing. At one point, Lindsay, Kyle Richards, whom Laurie and Annie are babysitting, is watching the classic film The Thing from Another World. As most everybody knows by now, Carpenter would remake that very film as The Thing. For 4 years after Halloween, which many, include myself, view as a superior to the original. Of course, the list of homages in Halloween would be incomplete without the mention of that Curtis herself, the daughter of Janet Leigh, whose many great films include her role as the shower victim in Psycho. And speaking of Curtis, as he was the biggest name in the cast, Donald Pleasence naturally had above the title billing for Halloween, while Curtis became a star thanks to this film. Pleasence's contribution was invulnerable. He was already an established character actor by 1978 for, among other things, terrorizing James Bond in You Only Live Twice, and even appearing in Lucas's first film, THX 1138. But his role as Dr. Loomis rightly became his most famous, and one which would be reprised in 4 of the Halloween sequels. The last of these, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, became his final movie before he tragically died shortly after completing it. Many of Halloween's imitators never took the time to make the characters we're supposed to root for very appealing. This was obviously due to the desires of the filmmakers to just get down to business regarding the bloodshed of screen. Usually in these films, it was easy to figure out who died and who would live to see the end credits. Halloween itself became criticized for giving birth to the cliche of the vaginal on one being the final survival, as Laurie is not as socially active as Annie and Linda, but I always felt that was an unfair criticism, because putting aside the fact that Laurie expresses her desire to be as social as her friends, all 3 of the girls have nice bonding moments in the movie. Hence, Annie and Linda both become sympathetic characters because of the love they have for Laurie. I've heard some say that Souls played a similar role 2 years earlier in Carrie, but anyone who's seen both films know that the big difference is that her character in that film Norma is a mean bitch who helps push Carrie to the brink at the film's climax, whereas Linda is more of a sweetheart. In their first scene together, Laurie moves that she has nothing to do of the following day. When a school dance is taking place, Linda is a cheerleader, comments it's your own fault, but her tone says that Laurie herself could easily change that. Likewise, Annie later politely scolds Laurie for not planning to go to the dance, and even attempts to give her an unwanted hand when Laurie gives her the name of a boy she liked to go out with. As a result, both Annie and Linda's death scenes are actually quite sad, which definitely cannot be said for many other deaths in slasher films. They also make us hope Laurie doesn't meet the same fate, making her shyness virginity irrelevant. Like Psycho, Jaws, and other classic horror movies, Halloween has a classical movie score which was composed by John Carpenter himself, in addition to the title theme. Halloween also has a nice theme for Laurie, which is reminiscent of the Tubular Bells motif from The Exorcist. The track that plays when Laurie attempts to escape from Michael's gasp is especially nerve-wracking. As the climax of the film, Laurie believes that she's killed Michael Myers and prominently tells Lindsay and Tommy to go to the neighbor's house to call the police. After they leave, Michael slowly revives and attempts to kill Laurie again, but Loomis sees the children running frantically out of the house and runs inside to save Laurie by shooting Michael Myers multiple times. Michael falls onto the house's second-story window onto the ground below. After Loomis confirms Laurie's thoughts that Michael is the boogeyman, she goes out to see Michael's body only to find out that it's gone. We hear Michael breathing while seeing that the place he's been previously before the ending credits roll. Like Silence of the Lambs 13 years later, this film has an ending in which the monster of the film is still at large, leaving the viewers shaking and going, "What the fuck?" However, Loomis repeatedly tells people throughout the film that Michael Myers himself is purely and simply evil. So maybe we shouldn't be surprised that unloading a revolver into him won't do the trick. Like the Headless Horseman in Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and the numerous movie Psychos Michael inspired. Maybe there's no way to kill a miraculous force of nature like this. Halloween would not only get sequels, but a bona fide remake in 2007, which got a sequel of its own 2 years later. There have even been recent reports of a new Halloween flick coming to Curtis's reprising role. She played Laurie again in Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, and only had a short scene in the movie Halloween Resurrection. The Michael Myers mask, not surprisingly, has become a popular one to wear when going trick-or-treating. Interestingly enough, one person we have to thank for the mask is William Shatner, Halloween's production designer Tommy Lee Wallace, who would later write and direct Michael Myers' Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, took a Captain Kirk mask, turned it upside out, wideness of the eyes, and painted the mask white. Happily for the horror fans, the result was something nightmares are made of. Curtis kept acting in the horror genre for a while, appearing in classics like The Fog, which was also directed by John Carpenter and co-starred Nancy Loomis, Charles Cypers, and even Janet Leigh, and The Prom Night, by the end of the 80s. However, she managed to leave an unequally memorable mark in the comedy genre thanks to her work in the films like Trading Places and A Fish Called Wanda. Again, like Star Wars, the studios weren't exactly expecting this film to make as much of an impact as it made. But the end result ended up being a bigger success and a game changer than anyone ever imagined. Halloween gets a 10 out of 10 for me. This is a classic movie, and one that everybody needs to watch. This is the perfect movie to watch on Halloween. Thanks for watching my Halloween-related videos this month of October. This is Red Wolf signing out, and I'll see you next time. Peace.